next on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live. NASCAR Race Night continues for a second week of 4 on this NASCAR iRacing Pro Series Invitational. Coming off of a season opener 2 weeks ago from Iowa. Tonight, we transition to the Richmond Raceway for a quick 40-lap sprint under the lights on the short track. It all comes your way next on iRacing Live. Live tonight from the Richmond Raceway. We're happy to say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the second week of the NASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series on iRacing Live. We'll get the night kicked off tonight with 40 laps at this Richmond Raceway, and that will also be followed up by our coverage of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing. That one's going to happen at about an hour from now at 9 o'clock Eastern Time for you on the East Coast. But Cisco, we are back with these drivers tonight from our second race on the season. And we saw a good one at a relatively similar racetrack just 2 weeks ago from Iowa. Some familiar names from that one here as well. Some new names that we didn't see in that one. The drivers on track right now just rounding out their practice session and actually qualifying for tonight's race as we speak.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun, Evan, and we had a great race, as you mentioned, 2 weeks ago from Iowa, and we're back at Richmond, which, I mean, some of these guys literally just ran this racetrack just a couple days ago, so it's going to be pretty cool to see a couple guys out there who have run this, and especially the guy who won the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series race over at Richmond. He's on track here tonight.
Yep, Kyle Larson is going to be with us tonight, along with the likes of Bubba Wallace, Justin Allgaier. Those are some of the new names with us this week, and we'll have an opportunity to chat with them in just a little bit here. But talking about the schedule in this series, Andy, this series is going to be with us every other Tuesday throughout the rest of our iRacing World Championship Series calendar year. So tonight, the second of 4 opportunities. We're going to see these drivers on track and mix it up the track that will be at week in and week out, as noted, Iowa 2 weeks ago. Tonight, Richmond, the venue.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Evan. And last week, or 2 weeks ago, I should say, at Iowa, it was a fantastic race. We saw Ty Majeski top of the board, practice, qualifying, and during the race. But then a little bit of a mix-up there coming off of turn 2. Lost control of the car all by himself. Didn't hit anything, got back into the race, but was unable to get back up to the front. And, of course, we saw Christopher Bell take that win pretty handily as well, too. But some great racing all throughout the field last week. Expect the same here at another short track.
Just as it was those 2 weeks ago, right now the best driver in this open qualifying session is Ty Majeski. He's got his iRacing colors on his Ford Mustang. He's at the top of the board right now with the 2331 Jay Beasley. Somebody else who is a name that we see here quite often on the iRacing service. Cisco up near the top of the board. And then we noted some of the familiar names. Kyle Larson, 11th right now. Bubba Wallace, 12th. And Justin Allgaier in 13th position. I know those guys have been on the sim all day trying to practice for this one.
Yeah, I got to watch a little bit of Larson and Bubba practice on Facebook Live, so that was pretty cool to see. And just a lot of outpouring support, a lot of guys having a lot of fun out there. It's just gonna be a great event. This has been a great event. We had a great race at Iowa, and Richmond's gonna put on another one. So I think we're gonna step aside, see if we can talk to some of these drivers taking part.
Yeah, we're going to see if we can catch a word with some of these drivers. Again, they're just warming up for this one, and we will see if we aren't going to have an opportunity to chat with a few of them. But Andy, this Richmond Raceway, it is similar in Iowa in a way, but it is much more of a short track, clock it in at just 3/4 of a mile in length. It's going to be a tough race for these guys.
Yeah, the corners are a lot tighter, a little bit less banking as well, too. The bottom line's definitely the place to be. You'll see some guys flirting with the top side as well, too, as the rubber starts getting in onto the track. But this should be a lot of fun, a little bit more heavy braking at this racetrack as well, especially going into turn number 1. So a little bit different, but still a short track as well.
And I believe we have the driver of the number 14 Ford with us on the radio tonight, Darrell Wallace Jr. Bubba, you got us? Try to work and see if we can get his mic going. Again, he's in the number 14 machine tonight, and it'll be interesting to see as well how he competes. He's one of the drivers, Cisco, as we noted, that wasn't with us as of just 2 weeks ago, but there are drivers who were here in those past couple of races. Christopher Bell is notably who took home the win. He's up there back in these NASCAR Xfinity Series cars, the Toyota Camrys, Chevrolet Camaros, and the Ford Mustangs. A little bit down on the horsepower compared to the Cup cars in contrast, but I would almost think that these cars are some of the funnest, Andy, I guess, that you can see on a track like this.
Yeah, these cars are a lot of fun. There's a lot more downforce, a lot more grip, I think, a little bit less heavy than the Cup cars, so you can really wheel these things around this racetrack, and they tend to have a lot of grip at this racetrack too here on the sim, so it makes it for a lot of fun, a lot of side-by-side racing I think we'll see out of these guys as well.
The drivers having an opportunity, 30 minutes to get down times in this open qualifying session, and it is a fixed setup event, which means that everybody on the racetrack is going to be working with the same equipment. Sure, the manufacturer may be different, but underneath the hood, the machines on the iRacing surface basically carbon copy. So there is going to be no advantage one way or the other. This one is going to all come down to the drivers as far as if they can try to figure this thing out over the course of the night, and it is a very short race as well, and you only clocked it in at 40 laps out of Richmond. You're talking about lap times just a smidge over 20 seconds in distance, and with a race with no yellows, that's not a lot of time.
No, it really isn't. We had 30 laps last week, 40 this week, so you get 10 more laps, but the problem is you run those laps pretty quickly, like you said, 20 seconds. Over the course of that 40-lap run, they'll dip down in about the 22-second bracket like that, so they'll lose a little bit of time here, which will actually make it a lot more fun. Cars will be slipping a little bit, and that's when you'll start seeing some guys, maybe mid-pack or so, start to work their way to the front as they start to burn these tires off.
And again, we had both series in action 2 weeks ago, but this week it's all going to be right here on RaceSpot TV at iRacing Live, immediately following our coverage of tonight's NASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series. We're going to be picking up with round number 14 of the 2017 NASCAR Peak Anniversary Series, powered by iRacing. That's going to be right here on this same screen, so you don't have to touch the dial come the end of this one. That's going to be coming up again right at about 9 o'clock over on the East Coast. And just taking a look, Andy, as we watch these drivers work through what in all honesty is a qualifying session, the 30-minute open queue. The best time is going to be whoever starts on a pole. That's still occupied by Ty Majeski with that 23:31. These guys don't look like they're putting in too much of a concerted effort to get by themselves. It's almost like turning these final couple of minutes about 5 minutes away from us going trackside into a last practice session, and a lot of them have been practicing. Many people, I'm sure, were able to watch Darrell Wallace Jr. Facebook live stream as he was practicing earlier today. But practicing by yourself, I think, very notably, completely different than when you're doing it out there with some of these other guys. Many drivers in this field tonight have raced with each other in these cars on the real world side of things. Some drivers may not be as familiar with one another, so we'll get an opportunity to get acquainted.
Yeah, that's definitely what they're doing. Get out on the racetrack. It is one thing, like you said, when you're out there running laps by yourself, it's a totally different aspect than when you're out there with other drivers, other cars around you. The cars act differently. So it is a good thing, and I think that's why you see a lot of these guys out there right now running together with other cars around them, just trying to get that feel, trying to see what that car is going to do. If they're on the bottom, if they're on the top, can they use the top line to their advantage? So it's a good thing, good practice for them right now here in these 30 minutes of qualifying.
Just scrolling through some of the other names in this, Garrett Smithley is with us tonight. He's somebody else who, even outside of the real world racing stuff, is somebody who's familiar on the iRacing service. But of course, Garrett drives the number nothing in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. It is Chevrolet Camaro, so he's on track here tonight and finds himself in the middle of the pack right now in 7th position. We do have those qualifying times up on the left-hand side of your screen, so if somebody bests their current fastest time, you will see it flash green, and we've seen a couple of drivers that improve in the late moments of this qualifying session. Ben Kennedy, still P4, but was able to pick up his time just a little bit. Ty Majeski, I think, is satisfied, though, with his lap time. He is not on track. Neither is Jay Beasley. Those are the two drivers who occupy the top 2 times in the queue right now, and even Christian Eckes in 3rd. Same thing, sitting on pit lane, kind of preparing for this thing.
Yeah, they are. Probably, you know, listen, you've taken enough laps, and you want to talk about a guy that's taken a lot of laps on iRacing. That's definitely Ty Majeski. I'm sure he's put thousands and thousands of laps on this racetrack. So for him, getting out here, it's really trying to fine-tune his ratios and his steering offsets, things like that he can control. Of course, this being a fixed setup race. So just going out there, fine-tuning his stuff, getting it to where it's going to be comfortable for him for 40 laps, and I think he's ready to roll.
And I think we might now have the driver of the 14 on the radio, Darrell Wallace Jr. Bub, you got us this time?
Yeah, I got you.
Sounds good. Well, hey, first, thanks for sticking with us for this one here tonight. I've seen that you've been practicing throughout the day. Kind of what are you thinking coming into this race now, just a couple of minutes from it getting underway?
I'm slow, very slow. I thought my test by myself earlier was okay. I kept improving, and I said to myself, I said, watch these guys be running like 30s and 40s. And, yep, I was right. So I'm still a half second off somehow, trying to figure it out, but I'm not going to really judge myself on Ty up there. He's like the 78, the Martin Truex of the iRacing deal, so I'll let him be on his own island.
What do iRacing, something that you as well are very familiar with? I can recall just off at the top of my head, I think it was 2 years ago before the Camping World Truck Series race at Vegas, you were hosting truck open sessions in the iRacing hosted session. So this is obviously something that keeps you sticking around and coming back. What is it that you enjoy so much about the service?
Yeah, I just love it, how you can interact with fans and put on races and give them a feel of what it's like for us. And you get to reset. That's one thing we don't have in real life. If you smack the fence, you can't just hit reset and go back to the pits and drive back out there. So, but it definitely helps out, you know, getting the seat time, getting the track time, and the tracks that we go to on the schedule allows us to get comfortable with the track for going back. If we've taken a break from there, say like we go from Kansas twice in a year, at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year, it's good to get back on there and get familiar with everything. So really enjoy it, and it's just really a good simulation for us just to go out there and drive cars and have some fun with friends.
We'll let you get out of here in a second. One more question. You guys, you're going to be hopping back in an Xfinity Series machine here coming up with RPM in the Xfinity Series. We'll be piloting that number 98 machine. You guys looking forward to that?
Oh, absolutely. I'm looking forward to any time getting back behind the wheel of really anything this year. You know, look at Michigan, jump back in that truck, and we're able to win that. So that's our only goal we got going into this weekend, is to see how we can manage and make sure we're there at the end of the race to capitalize.
Well, you guys are going to be rolling off 10th here. Your time is better than Kyle's. I know that's something that you said earlier as well you want to get on top of, so we'll see how this race shakes out, and best of luck.
All right, sounds good. Appreciate it.
So that is the driver tonight of the number 14 Ford EcoBoost Ford Fusion. Bubba Wallace going to be rolling off at about 10th position here, and Cisco just seconds away from going trackside and getting this race underway.
Yeah, absolutely. And once everybody heads up on grid, this can be it's gonna be a little bit of a fight. I think it's gonna be interesting. Watch that 57 and that 14. I think those two in particular are gonna be racing each other quite hard this race. This is gonna be pretty awesome.
And they are going to be right basically alongside each other, with Wallace to the outside of row 5 and Larson to the inside of row 6. Andy, something else to note is we're working on a new iRacing to build. The dynamic track surfaces just got an update, so even though it's a 40-lap race, it's not that long. That is something that will be a factor.
Oh, short track, the heavy braking, the hard turning through these corners. You will start to see that track really start to rubber up on that bottom side, and that's why I say towards the later stages of this race, probably the last 10 laps or so, you might see some guys trying to utilize that high line to try to get the run and get that pass if they can for the lead.
Let's head trackside, though, and take a look at tonight's Race Spot TV starting grid for your NASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series from the Richmond Raceway. And qualifying on the pole for this one is Roush Fenway development driver and the driver who has the highest I rating on the service, Ty Majeski. With a 23.31, he will start from pole position and be accompanied by Jay Beasley, who qualifies in second tonight. Benjamin Kennedy picks up a few. He'll start from third position in this one, with Christian Eckes alongside in fourth position to make it up row 2. Just behind them, Christopher Bell rolls off in P5.
Yeah, 6th is going to go to Myatt Snyder. 7th going to roll off is going to be Garrett Smithley in the 43. 8th going to be Raph Lessard. 9th going to go to Todd Gilliland, and Bubba Wallace rounding out your top 10.
11th on the grid here tonight in the 57 is going to be Kyle Larson, winner here just a few days ago in a NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series. Blake Cook will start in the 12th spot. 13th goes to Justin Allgaier, and Gracie Trotter will start 14th.
Look top to bottom at your iRacing Live starting grid. Let's talk a little bit more about this Richmond Raceway. As we've alluded to a couple of times, it was just the site of the regular season finale in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series, but Cisco kind of sticking with our short track format here with this Pro Invitational Series. We come to this 3/4 of a mile asphalt D-shaped oval, 14 degrees of banking in the quarter. One would expect that when you come to a race under the lights, the track temps are a little bit lower than they are today. Obviously, there's a little bit more grip in the racetrack. That may be true, but it's not a lot of grip. Drivers are really going to have to work that throttle, and for the drivers who don't, say, have as much seat time at the iRacing service like a Ty Majeski, are really going to have to use those visual cues to figure out what the race car is doing coming off of the corner.
Yeah, absolutely, Evan. And what's going to be interesting to see is how the lines also play into a factor here, because we got to watch a race on iRacing Live yesterday where we saw a lot of that take place, and that multi-groove racing really came into effect where guys were actually using the outside at Richmond to pass, which is kind of odd for this track. So apart from my voice crack aside, this is going to be a lot of fun, and these guys can be searching all over the place to find that little bit of an edge to get that pass made.
And again, 40 laps. We continue to stress it is not a long race. By these guys' standards, it is nowhere near a long race. Most racetracks they go to have green flag stints longer than 40 laps. But we did see last weekend the drivers start to lose the tires as the run goes on, either lose the car entirely or really eat up at those tires and then be slow as this race works on to the end. You are going to have to relatively pace yourself over the course of this thing, keep that car in one piece.
Yeah, and especially on the sim, too, you really want to focus on getting straight off the corners. You want to be really pretty much from center off, straight up to that wall. The less turning you can do, the more time you make up, and at the same time, the less opportunity for that car to get really loose off the corner. So turn 2 is definitely one of the trickiest ones here on the service here at Richmond. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on that for all these drivers out there, and we'll see how many how many drivers lay claim to that.
The iRacing.com official pace car is going to dive down to the pit lane this time, and we are going to go green flag racing tonight from Richmond Raceway. Happy to have you with us on iRacing Live as we go green. Ty Majeski is gone as we go racing for the first of 40 laps tonight, side by side for second. Ben Kennedy to the inside, Beasley on the outside of the racetrack as they fight in turn 2.
And Eckes now going to look to the inside right behind the 96. They're going to try and freight train the 27 up on the high side. Not going to work. The 43, Garrett Smithley jumps to the inside. He'll get a little bit loose. He'll hold on to it throughout a 4. Still side by side. The 96 and 27. 27 will grab that position away from Kennedy.
And Smithley going to lose a lot of spots in that bubble. Got passed up by both Christopher Bell and Matt Snyder in the 2 machines, so it's going to be back to 7th position for him. Meanwhile, the battle for second is not over with. Beasley was able to get down in front of Kennedy as noted, but he's not getting away from him. It's definitely a big battle here. Mack is there, and now Bell looking to the inside. Will he commit to the inside in turn number 1? He will not go to the inside of Eckes yet, but continues to knock on the door. A little bit loose that time at a 2.
Yeah, a little bit of loose is going to actually fall off the pace just a bit. It's going to allow Eckes actually to pull away from him and pull up onto the back bumper of Ben Kennedy now. They work their way off of turn number 4. The gap is definitely closed, but you see last time Christian Eckes kind of using that high line. This time sticks to the bottom. He's got a nose there. Half a car length now off 2.
All of this is going on behind a Ty Majeski, who has a 1.2 second advantage over Beasley in the battle between first and second position. That one not much of a fight at the moment. However, Beasley keeping at times honest, may be able to challenge as this race continues to work on. Just looking through the back of the field, a couple of drivers going to forwards. Kyle Larson, who started in 11th spots, picked up a few. He rides P7 at the moment. He's been able to get around Bubba Wallace, who's back at 9th position. Matt Snyder is somebody who has struggled off at the start of this thing. There is some damage on that left side of his number 2 Toyota. Maybe got into somebody a little bit earlier on. He's back 2 spots.
Yeah, a little bit of a scuff to the left side of Myatt's car, but either way, single file for the moment. That car looks pretty under control, so he's going to follow in line with Kyle Larson. Actually makes up a little bit of time going into turn 3, but he'll lose time because Bubba's all over the back bumper in the number 2. He'll jump to the inside this time. Bubba Wallace on the inside as they head into turn 1.
Not going to define up on the outside of the racetrack, the 14, and not committing to go all the way to that yellow line. Now he does come out for the quarter. You got to be really careful. There's a spinner meanwhile at a turn 2, and it is Ben Kennedy. He was running in 3rd position. The Donnie 6 loops it around. No caution, obviously, and we are going to continue to go green. That will give Eckes the number 3 position as that battle between Bubba Wallace and company is not going to go well for the 14 machine. Got sideways in turn number 4. Again, is able to keep it going, but did hurt the left side of that car as he was digging a little bit too hard on quarter exit. We talked about discipline on putting that right foot down. 14 gave it a little bit too much.
Yeah, he absolutely did. I see a lot of damage on a bunch of cars up towards the front. We talked about Ben Kennedy with the spin. Well, I think he had a little bit of help there. You see a lot of front damage on Christian Eckes' car, as well as some rear end damage as well. So it looks like Christopher Bell, a little bit of damage getting into that. So a little beating and banging here at Richmond as the battle for second, or excuse me, yeah, the battle for third now heats up as they're side by side in 1 and 2.
But we did say it was a short track, it's a bull ring, and sometimes the bumper does come out. Even 7 laps into a race will be quarter distance. This time by, though, 10 laps in the books, 30 to go, as Eckes stays in front of Christopher Bell in that battle for third. Biggest mover continues to be Kyle Larson, who has picked up 2 positions in the last couple of laps, mainly because 2 drivers in front of him have been involved in incidents. So the 57 is up to 5th. Garrett Smithley trying to challenge with him. A couple of car lengths separate those 2.
Yeah, Garrett starting to close in on the 57, but the closest battle right now is between Bell and Eckes, and Bell stalking the rear end of that number 15. Eckes looking to maintain that line right in the middle of the track. So down to the inside goes Christian Eckes, and he's going to hold on to that position, Evan. He's doing a very good job of running a defensive line, not allowing Christopher Bell to jump to the inside. He'll get very close there, nearly a tap, and he's going to get loose and took the air off the nose, and the 6 goes in the infield.
Well, we knew that these drivers weren't going to be afraid of it. The 6 ends up in the grass, and I think that's going to do it for Christopher Bell. So that means another driver from the top 5 has problems. We talked about this attrition rate, and that means that Kyle Larson in 5th will assume 4th position and gets another one as this race continues to go on. The biggest thing that I've been keeping an eye on at the guys up front is that Jay Beasley had been keeping Ty Majeski quite honest, Andy, over the course of this, and it was sit rated about 1.2 to 1.5 seconds. That's now a 3-second difference favoring that number 64 up front, so Majeski really putting it on late.
Yeah, we're 15 laps into this race now, so you're starting to see, this is that first point or that first plateau. You start seeing the tires really fall off these cars as well, too. So it depends on how hard you drive it those first 10, 15 laps. Really dictates how your long run speed is going to be, and it looks like the 27 Jay Beasley steadily losing ground right now to our race leader. It doesn't look that way for the 15 of Christian Eckes. He's actually starting to close the gap now in that 2nd place. Kyle Larson had a pretty good battle going on with Garrett Smithley. Those 2 continue into turn number 1.
They are step for step with each other. The 43 hasn't gained much. They've been basically even at about a car length of a difference every single time around. Looks like Larson doing a better job of taking it easy through the center, get back to the gas off, and pulling a little bit on the straightaways, whereas Smithley's driving it in, using a little bit more brake to get closer, but then is a little bit slower off the turn. Again, the 43 has quite the experience here on the surface, but so does Kyle Larson, both in these kind of cars and on the dirt side of things, both in the real world side and the iRacing service. And again, doing a good job before. He's your biggest mover, +7 positions. In front of him, though, Majeski 1, Beasley 2, and Eckes still in 3rd.
And Majeski is way out there right now. An excellent job by the driver in the number 60. And Beasley's opened up a little bit of a gap. It's about a second right now back to Eckes. And that battle continues with Larson and Smithley. Not really able to go anywhere. Those two just kind of side by side. And speaking of side by side, Blake Koch and Ralph Lessard. Lessard jumping to the inside of Koch there on a turn number 4. And Blake in a draw. See if he can maybe drop in behind the 99. Maybe try and get the crossover move. Not going to happen. Blake going to run the very high line heading through 1 and 2.
The 11 machine is going to drop back a spot there, but he's still up 5 from where he started, so Lessard getting around him not going to be that terrible a news for the driver of that Chevrolet Camaro so far, having a good season over on the NASCAR Xfinity Series sides of things. We sit with right now 11 drivers still scored on the lead lap. Christopher Bell spin at turn number 4 has taken him out of this thing. Gracie Trotter is still in it, 13th, but 5 laps down, and Todd Gilliland is 12th position, 4 laps off at the moment as we cross the halfway point as of that time by, with Majeski still in front. 4.7 out to the good as we got traffic for Jay Beasley and Eckes at a battle for P2.
Yeah, great battle going on for these two. Eckes has actually finally caught the back bumper of that number 27. Just a lap ago, we saw Kyle Larson get a little bit loose off turn 4, able to keep that thing going in the right direction. He lost a lot of ground to Garrett Smithley. He'll see if he can get it back up. Now, battle for that second spot, though. It's going to be a good one here. Even with the damage, Christian Eckes now putting the pressure on in turn 3.
Yeah, well, you would think that maybe the front end damage on that car would be hurting him a little bit, but it doesn't appear to be the case. Eckes is doing a good job hanging with him, and that's both front and rear end damage. He'll look to the inside, and it looks like Beasley's going to give him the spot. Held the top line, will now come down off the corner and move the 15 up to P2, putting him now 2 spots up from where he started, and that's the first spot that Beasley has lost on the night. They're catching some lap traffic, Gilliland right in front of him.
This quite ain't over yet, Evan, because Beasley will not let him just get away. He did a really good job coming off of turn 4 to close that gap, but a very good corner entry for Christian Eckes. That car up on the outside was the number 16 of Todd Gilliland, and Gilliland now closing in on Jay Beasley. The lap car maybe trying to race a little bit here, see what he can do in that Toyota Camry. The 27 got a little bit of a wiggle out of turn 4 that time, though, loses more time, and now the 16 all over the back bumper.
Trying to just get something going and trying to find a way forward, and obviously, despite the fact that that car is a couple of laps down, still relatively good condition compared to, say, somebody like that 50 Eckes who is working with some damage. It is a short track, though, not the most of aerodynamic sensitive racetracks that you can come to, but I think if the 15 can stay consistent, you'll be able to continue to work it right away with this. Big issues, though, with Justin Allgaier. Heavy smoke coming out of the number 7 Chevrolet. He took a big hit in turn 3 after getting sideways, and that's going to do it for him. That is pretty heavy damage. That car headed to pit lane.
Yeah, what happened? He got real loose coming out of turn 4 and just pounded the wall, went up in there, and you could see the black thick smoke coming from out the back end of the 7. It was all big problems for Justin Allgaier. He's put that car in the garage, it looks like, for the moment.
The tough break for Allgaier. He was running inside of the top 10, 9th at the time. He'll now drop down to the back and fall off the lead lap as this race starts to come to its conclusion. 12 laps to go as of the next time by. Garrett Smithley's 43 is right in the thick of things. Again, had a little bit of a self-spin earlier in this race, dropped back, but he's been able to work his way back through the field up to 4th at the moment. That's the 2 by. It's Snyder on the inside, a battle not for position. The 43 is looking to get up to the 27 of Beasley.
Yeah, he's trying to get up to him, but the problem right now is those guys coming off of pit road, fresh tires, and actually Myatt Snyder's going to spin off of turn number 2. That's going to allow the 43 now clear sailing to get back up there. I was going to say, early on in this race and towards this middle portion, that 43 car, along with the 57 of Kyle Larson, looked to be a couple of the fastest vehicles on the racetrack as well. Smithley definitely looking very comfortable in that car here tonight.
Lap traffic really did cost him a lot, though, because he was right up to Beasley. The telemetry had him up to 0.2 of a second off of the bumper. That's what caught my eye, but now he's fallen again a second off of that continuing battle for P2. So the lap traffic really hurt him, and the 43 is going to try to make it up, but with only 9 laps to go as of this next time around, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to get up there, Cisco, unless we see Eckes and Beasley start to fight again for P2. If they get side by side at all, that'll invite the 43 right back into this fight.
And I don't think Beasley's just going to sit behind and ride behind the 15. He did try and make a move earlier on, but lap traffic got in the way, so Beasley wasn't able to do anything there. Evan now off of 2. You can see Beasley get a very good run, but equally matched by Christian Eckes. Down to turn 3 at the 27, dives it in, has a very good corner entry in that Camry. Coming out of turn 4, he's riding the back bumper of the 15.
He's going to look to the inside, side by side for P2, the 27 of Beasley. On the inside of the 15 of Eckes, can he get it to stick off of the corner? You got to be so careful getting back to the throttle. The 15 cleared him by the time they got down the back, but Beasley once again dives to the inside, and they continue to go side by side. This is exactly what Smithley behind him wants to see.
Yeah, it is. Smithley's going to want to take advantage of this, try to close that gap. Now the tires, though, very worn for these drivers. The 15 using that outside lane to his advantage. He'll hold off Beasley for the time being. He'll slot it back in line. Single file now off turn 4.
The 15 is able to hold off that attack, and Beasley hopes that he can recover and maybe try to get 1 or 2 more spots as this thing goes on. Through the top 5, behind that fight, you got Kyle Larson still in 5th, Ralph Lessard in the number 6 position, with Ben Kennedy 7th and Blake Cook at 8th position. Those final 2 spots between the 96 and the 11 may still be up for grabs. It's only about a half a second between those 2 drivers, but at least at the moment, nothing to ruin. Inside of 5 laps to go from Richmond.
Yeah, 5 to go, and Beasley still trying to hunt down the 15 and make anything happen. A very good exit out of corner 2, and he's going to make up about a third of a car length. Now dives it in, and once again, right there is the 27. This is the battle on track at the moment. Beasley looking for any way past. Going to look left, right, maybe try the inside as they head back to turn 1. 27's very good on that corner entry into turn 3. Evan, not so much turn 1. They're a little bit more equal there.
And the track corner is obviously different from each other because if it's a D-shaped oval. Turn 1, you enter much differently than you do turn number 3, and obviously you're exiting 2 different than 4, so somebody may have an advantage down at one end of the racetrack in comparison to the other. If something's going to happen, it's going to have to happen soon. Popsicle sticks in the air next time by.
Yeah, just 2 more laps to settle this out. Ty Majeski enjoying a 6.5 second lead right now as these 2 battle it out for that second spot. On the back bumper is Beasley. They're going to make a look now to turn number 1. He's going to take a peek to the inside, maybe a little bit of contact. He'll force him up the track. Side by side, the outside lane, no. Christian Eckes going to hang on for the time being. The 27 loose, and Eckes is going to skate away with second.
That looked like his best opportunity. Beasley going to get sideways, and that will all but hand Christian Eckes the number 2 position. Meanwhile, white flag is out for Ty Majeski. The driver of the number 60 Ford started up front, and he's able to close this one out. Final time at quarter number 4. Ty Majeski going to take the checkered flag from Richmond and win in the NASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational.
Absolutely dominating performance by Ty there. Eckes, a valiant second, and Jay Beasley, not the position I think he wanted. I think he wanted that second place, but it didn't come to pass this time, Evan, but I think he'll be back here before too long. Garrett also, very good run in 4th, and Kyle Larson brings it home P5.
Yeah, Garrett was able to pick up it when he got sideways earlier in this race, got passed up by Kyle Larson. Larson then made a mistake of his own, and they once again exchanged what ended up being the 4th and 5th positions, and you can see the plus and minuses for those drivers. Sure, it sounds good if you're Kyle Larson to go plus 6 positions. He does end the night as well as our biggest mover tonight, a tip of the cap to Blake Cook, who started in 12th and ended up coming over in 8th position as well. But for Ty Majeski, Andy, if you start on a pole and you finish up front, I don't think there's many complaints that you can have.
No, there absolutely isn't. I really think that he wanted that 2 weeks ago at Iowa as well, too, but just a mistake of his own doing cost him that one last week. So he was able to stick on the pole, stay there, and really dominate this thing in fine fashion. So Ty Majeski, just another day in the iRacing service.
Let's take a look at your full race results for this second race on the NASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series tonight from Richmond Raceway. Ty Majeski takes home the win in convincing fashion, 6.5 seconds. And for the Christian Eckes, who makes a pass for P2, and was able to hold off Jay Beasley, who came home 3rd in a late race battle that basically went down to the wire in this one. Garrett Smithley, couple of mistakes, but he does get a solid 4th place finish tonight. And Kyle Larson racing with us this week, started way back in row number 6, but is able to come home with the top 5.
Rafael Lessard's going to finish 6th. 7th going to go to Ben Kennedy. 8th going to go to Blake Cook. 9th going to go to Myatt Snyder. And Todd Gilliland will round out your top 10.
Justin Allgaier will pick up a couple spots. He'll finish in the 11th spot. Gracie Trotter will finish 12th. 13th goes to Bubba Wallace. And Christopher Bell, last week's winner, is going to pull up 14th here tonight.
Look top to bottom at your iRacing Live full race results. You're able to see that we had a little bit over half of the field still round this sit out on the lead lap, but when it was all said and done, they were chasing the driver of the number 60 machine. Ty Majeski takes home the checkered flag tonight from Richmond, and we're down with the driver of that Ford Mustang. Ty, congratulations on this one. No doubt you have done this say once or twice, and you guys had the speed 2 weeks ago from Iowa, but this time around able to lock this thing up.
Yeah, it was a good run. Yeah, I was unfortunate at Iowa. I had to add a little, I had to get a little mini fan to prevent my computer from overheating. I just run on a little laptop when I'm here in Charlotte. So, but overall, it was a good race. We had really good speed. The setup was incredibly hard to drive. So everyone was kind of white knuckling it out there. Setup was really free all the way around. So you really had to tiptoe around the racetrack. Made a lot of fun for us drivers.
The iRacing service, obviously something that you are very well acquainted with. You have the highest I rating, and if anybody on this Senate, I know that it must be fun for you to be able to carry the iRacing colors on your super late model, as well as the opportunity you had to do that in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Just comparing the two tracks that we've been at so far in this series, in particular, Iowa to Richmond, you've been fast on both. They're both short tracks. That's something that you do almost week in and week out. Maybe what was something that you picked up from this one compared to 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, first of all, like you said, iRacing's been a big supporter of mine, and I can't, I'll tell you what, it's really special to me. iRacing's been such a big part of progressing my career, and to carry their colors on my super late model and have them on the car for my Xfinity debut this year was really cool. As I said before, my computer had troubles overheating at Iowa, so I was basically losing frames per second. I went into turn 1. And next thing I knew, I was in the infield. So that was a little bit embarrassing, and I wasn't going to let that happen again. So I got a little mini fan here to blow some cool air underneath my laptop, so it all worked out.
And I think that just goes to show that a lot of guys have big setups, which are awesome. I have 3 screens that I would get nowhere near the times that you can put down on a laptop. So it's nice to see you back on the sim here, though, with us. Speaking of those opportunities that you've had with Roush on the NASCAR Xfinity Series side of things, what's next for you on the real world side of racing?
Right now, we have 3 more ARCA races starting this weekend in Chicagoland, and then next week in Kentucky, and then in October in Kansas with the ARCA cars. So we're working on some more Xfinity races for the rest of this year. Nothing set in stone yet, but something we're working towards. And of course, I have my super late model program that I go back and race. We'll run a bunch of fall specials up in the Midwest and travel down south a little bit come December for the Snowball Derby. So really excited for the next few races we have in store. Really optimistic about them.
We'll let you take off, but again, congratulations. Anybody else that you want to say hi to? What we got you?
I just can't thank all you guys in iRacing and NASCAR for putting this on. This is pretty cool for us drivers to come and compete online like this. And I know it's been getting quite a bit of publicity, and just can't thank all you guys enough for all that. It definitely helps us drivers as well as you guys. So it's a win-win for everybody. We all really enjoy coming out here and competing. So thank you.
Well, it's always fun having you back on the Sim, Ty. Thanks for sticking around and chatting with us as well. Congratulations. Best of luck going forward with everything on the ARCA and Xfinity side of things, and maybe we'll see you again in 2 weeks' time over here.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Again, Ty Majeski is your winner tonight from Richmond Raceway, taking home the second race of this NASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series. Again, coming up immediately following this, the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing. That gets kicked off at the top of the hour, 9 o'clock for those on the East Coast, 6 o'clock for those like me over on the West Coast of the United States. That'll be the 14th race from Chicagoland. That is coming up next, but before that, we've got a couple more drivers that we're going to have an opportunity to talk with, and I believe Andy Kessler may be down trackside with the driver who came home P2 tonight.
Yeah, that's right. I am down here with Christian Eckes, and Christian, you had a pretty good race here coming in second. You had a pretty good battle there, a whole race long. It looked like with that number 27. Talk about that one and how the track felt here over the course of this 40 laps.
There, but you got me?
Yeah, we got you.
All right. Yeah, I mean, it was a really cool race. I can't thank iRacing enough for putting this on. It's really cool to race all these big time drivers and stuff like that. We had a pretty good race. We got into a couple incidents there, and tore the nose up a little bit, which gave us a little bit less speed, but we were still able to bring it home second, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it looked like a lot of fun out there. Obviously, no cautions, keeps it going. Puts a little bit of trouble, puts you a little bit behind, but that car still looked pretty good with the damage that it had on there. You were able to at least make it a pretty good race there for that second spot and able to hang on to it as well.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to come out here and race. We all raced really, really hard and really clean, and it was just a really fun race for everybody.
Yeah, it definitely was. Well, 2017 racing season's getting close to coming to the end. What's on the schedule for you in the upcoming months here?
I finished my ARCA series racing last week, so we're done with that for the year. But I still have a bunch of big super late model races coming up, and it should be a lot of fun with my Fury Race Cars team, and we're just looking forward to the end of this year.
That's what it's all about, getting those all the races you can in towards the end of the season. But Christian, anybody you'd like to thank here before we let you go?
Yeah, just big thanks to Toyota Racing and everybody that let me run this race. It was a lot of fun to come out here on Tuesday night and run with all these guys.
Well, it was a lot of fun to watch you out on the track as well. Hopefully we'll see you in a couple weeks, and wish you the best of luck the rest of the season.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
So there you have it. Christian Eckes coming in second behind Ty Majeski. A little bit of damage, but still had a lot of speed in that car.
He's able to get a solid finish in this one, and I believe we're going to see if Cisco Scaramuza has an opportunity to chat with our third place finisher in this one. Jay Beasley was up towards the front for the most of it. Jay, you got us?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Well, hey, congratulations on the solid result in this race. I know that you guys start up front and you finish up front. It looked like you were very close to being able to get that second spot back at which you started, and it was a good fight between you and Eckes there for basically that whole second half of the race.
Yeah, that was fun. I was trying to save a little bit. He got by me. I just let him go. And then I tried getting by him, but I was too loose. But it was good racing.
Coming into this race tonight at Richmond Raceway in these Xfinity Series machines, obviously 40 laps, not a lot of time to get the job done, but you're somebody else who's well-versed with this iRacing service, and you looked pretty stable out there. I think the biggest that a lot of guys were struggling with was just losing that car coming off of the corner, and it looked like you had that part covered.
Yeah, I knew tire fall off was going to be big, and iRacing has implemented that pretty good, so I knew I had to just be smooth with it and not get loose, don't get too excited, and couldn't get it done at the end. But yeah, first place Ty, he was in a whole nother zip code.
It was almost like he knew what he was doing up front there in his Ford. We'll let you get out of here, Jay. Before we do, though, want to give you a chance to say hi to anybody and as well talk a little bit about what you guys coming up for the rest of 2017 and into the future.
Yeah, my next race is New Jersey, so I actually hopped on there and been on iRacing testing, getting ready for that. I'll run there this Saturday, so I'm looking forward to that. And I just want to thank iRacing, having you guys invite me out. I appreciate it. This is a fun race. It's awesome to be a part of and race with some really good talent. And yeah, hopefully we can do it again. And everyone out there, subscribe, get iRacing, come and have some fun. And yeah, thank you guys for having me out.
And not that there's anything bad about getting that third place finish, but we hope to see you in 2 weeks' time, and you guys can look for redemption and try to build on that one. But again, thanks for spending time to be with us tonight and as well to chat with us. Congratulations on the solid result tonight, and hopefully we'll chat soon.
Yep, sounds good. Have a good night, guys. Thank you again.
That's the driver who came home third here tonight in the NASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational. And Cisco, next race going to be coming up in 2 weeks' time for these guys. Our every other Tuesday is going to be a double feature, the NASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series, and followed by the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing. So these guys will be back with us in 2 weeks' time on September the 26th. But Andy, we are not done yet right here on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live, because the playoffs for NASCAR's officially sanctioned esports series, the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, is coming up in just a couple of minutes.
Yeah, and how about it? Round number 2 2 weeks ago, we saw Ray Alfalla pick up the victory at Darlington. He's secured into that one of the final 4 in Homestead. So we'll see if somebody else can get that job done here tonight at Chicago. Totally different track, so a mile and a half should be a lot of fun to watch.
And it is the second race of the playoffs. So if you have not been following along with the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, I highly encourage you to stick with us. But until we see the NASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series return in 2 weeks' time, that does it so far for us here tonight from the Richmond Raceway. So on behalf of the entire team, for myself, Evan Pasocco, Cisco Scaramuza, and Andy Kessel, I want to thank you for tuning in to our coverage of tonight's NASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series on iRacing Live, and we will be back at it with some of NASCAR's top stars in 2 weeks' time on September the 26th. You'll be able to find us then right here at iRacing.com/live with coverage kicking off at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. That being said, we are far from done tonight as we get set for the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing, NASCAR's officially sanctioned esports series, as they head into their 14th race on 2017 from Chicagoland Speedway. That race is right here next on RaceSpot TV at iRacing Live, so don't touch the dial. We'll be right back on the other side.